Hey there, welcome to the Phil Studio. Did you know that you could get these crazy sound out of these toys from the 80s and the 90s? Today is a great day because you will learn how to hack the speaking mat, which is a prized toy every circuit bender is looking for. But you're also very lucky because in the second part of this video, I'll show you my process to bend any other toy you can find, like this beautiful guitar. A few years ago, I found this speaking mat at the flea market, and I just couldn't resist buying it. $5 well spent. I'd seen so many circuit benders in the modding community hacking these toys, and I was curious to see if I could pull it off myself. As usual, I brought it home and let it sleep on a shelf for a few years. I feel like it's my normal operating process. I let age projects before I tackle them. Then, one morning, I decided it was time to open it up. The operation had begun. The patient, calmly resting on my surgery table, was inanimate, frozen in fear. The lungs of its power circuit were a bit corroded, so I cleaned them, then proceeded to identify the positive and negative of the power supply. I carefully powered it up, and to my surprise, a weird robotic voice greeted me with a request for activity level 1. I instantly dove into research and began the mod. Luckily, this device is a classic among the circuit bending community. Nearly every point of interest on the board has already been documented. Check the reference in this video's description. The documentation is vast and incredibly instructive. I started soldering wires to the clock, added potentiometers and knobs, and every time I discovered a new glitch, I got so excited. This thing is the perfect playground for anyone who wants to experiment. Just a quick safety tip. If you can, avoid plugging these toys into a wall adapter. At worst, use batteries. At best, use a bench power supply with short circuit protection. And avoid shorting too many points together, especially around the power rail. The real challenge came when I had to close the device again and figure out where to mount all the new knobs, switches, and buttons. You can see I pulled the cheap trick here. I cut a transparent piece of plexi, shaped it, and installed it to hold everything in place. It's fine. Not perfect, but remember, this is not the NASA, it's the Phil Studio, your modern alchemist. Woot, guy, wasn't that amazing? It's crazy, this little toy was never meant to become a disco glitch looper, am I right? I'm pretty sure the engineers back in the day didn't expect 90s kid to use it that way. Anyway, without further delay, let's dive into this cool little guitar here. $10 at the flea market, and now it's a chanting and screaming rock and roll device from hell. This one was particularly fun to hack. With such a flimsy frame, I honestly thought the neck might snap in half, but it survived, and so did I. When I hack a toy, I always use the protected power supply and stick to the original voltage. One battery is 1.5 volt, two is 3 volt, three is 4.5 volt, four is 6 volt. So most of the time I'll go with 5 volt, low enough to stay safe, unless the toy was meant for 1.5 volt or 3 volt. Please respect your toy. The first thing I look for is the main brain of the circuit. After the 80s and 90s, those brains usually looked like this, a black blob of epoxy. They are nasty to hack, but not impossible. Just make sure you have a few capacitor and resistor nearby to poke around safely. Once you've found the main chip, it's time to find the clock. In modern PCs, the clock is a crystal or a processor running at insane speed. In these toys, well, it's usually below a few megahertz, and it's often created by a capacitor resistor pair. So if you can locate that little oscillator circuit, you're GG. Try connecting a resistor or a capacitor instead of shorting pin directly. Most of the time, I'll use a 1 kilo ohm potentiometer. The best way to proceed? Start a loop or sound sequence you can recognize, something that keeps playing while you probe around. When you hit the clock, you'll know it. The clock is probably the nicest bend you can perform on any device. It pulls down or pushes up the pitch of every sound and LED effect the toys can make. Once you've found the clock, take note of its location and solder two wires to the oscillator circuit. Make sure the toys is off and unplugged when you solder. Trust me, I learned that lesson the hard way. After that, you can start poking around. Try a different combination, some points to ground, some to power. If the toy keeps shutting down, that means you're shorting the circuit, so that's not good. Try adding a 1K or 10K resistor in series between the 2 points you're connecting. Sometimes it feels like poking in the dark, but when you find a new glitch point, mark it with a Sharpie and come back later to add a switch or knob. There's really no right or wrong way to hack a circuit when you don't have the schematic. With cheap toys like these, I just explore and experiment. But if you're working with something more valuable, be cautious. Try to reverse engineer the circuit or look up for schematic online. That little bit of research can save you a lot of time and heartache. So, on this beautiful note, stay creative, stay curious, and keep being smart. I'm Phil, your modern alchemist. See you next time.
Son, how do you push stop on that?